Hello there and welcome back. So in the previous video we have started implementing Facebook SDK in our application, and now we are at step 7. So here we want to initialize a Facebook SDK in our application. So we are just going to copy this one line of code and we're going to paste that inside our main activity here. Alright, so instead of this get application context, we're going to use main activity as a context. And we can also add some comment here, so we know that this is a line for initializing Facebook SDK. Alright, so the next thing, let's go to step number 8. And here we're going to copy this XML code for our Facebook button. So this is a default Facebook button, but in the later in this course we're going to change this button to our custom Facebook button, but for now it will stay this way. So let's connect constraints, of course, top margin 24, and okay, so the ID is a login button. And now let's get to our main activity, and let's get to 9th step here. And here we are going to create a callback manager, and we are going to access our token from the user, and then we're going to use that token to sign in to our Firebase. From that token we are going to get email address, and that email address we're going to use to sign in to our Facebook, to our Firebase console. So now instead of using this Facebook for developers documentation, we're going to switch to Firebase documentation, so we can copy some codes. So here on this link, as you can see, there are some steps to authenticate using Facebook for login. And alright, so here we already did some of those steps. So we have already created a Facebook application, and we have connected our Firebase to our Facebook SDK, and now we need to authenticate with Firebase. So first we're going to copy this block of code for a callback manager. So copy that, and we're going to leave this on activity result for later, but for now just copy this, and we're going to paste that inside our onCreate method here. Alright, so let's click Alt Enter to import all those classes here. So basically what this does, basically we're using a callback manager, and when our user clicks continue with Facebook button, we're going to request email and public profile information from our user, and then we're going to register callback. So we have also here 3 methods, overridden 3 methods: on success, on cancel, and on error. So this time we're only going to use on success method, and here we have a handle Facebook access token method here, and basically we're passing the access token from our user. So now we're going to also import add this handle Facebook access token method, but here let's first initialize our login button, and let's just change the ID of our login button to match our XML file. So I think it was a login button, yeah. Okay, so let's get back to our Firebase documentation, and we are going to copy one more method to handle this access token, so we can sign in to our Firebase. So basically, as you can see, with this set read permission, we are we're asking a user to give us permission to read his email and public profile information, like profile photo, first and last name, and so on. So here let's override this method, but before that I think we should copy this handle Facebook access token method. So let's copy this. Alright, and we're going to paste that down below our onCreate method. Okay, so this method is called when a user give us permission to access his data on Facebook, and basically we are getting the token, access token, from our user, and then we're going to use that access token to generate credentials for authenticating to our Firebase console. So as you can see on success method here, we're going to use this handle Facebook access token, and we're going to pass our access token, and then we're going to use that token to generate credentials so we can log into our Firebase and of course have our own database of users. So here now we need to also copy some line of codes here so we can initialize our Facebook authentication here. So let's just use Firebase auth, and let's name mauth. And here inside onCreate method we're going to initialize our Firebase authentication, and we're going to get the instance of that, of course. Alright. Okay. And now when we have our Firebase authentication, we can use this sign in with the credential method, and basically we're signing in our user to our Firebase. And when we sign in our user successfully, then we're going to see an email address of each and every user which signed in with Facebook to our application. Okay, so we have here onComplete method, so we can delete some of those lines of code we don't need, of course. Okay, and this update UI method will be created here in our project, and in this okay, so let's create this update UI in our main activity. We don't need anonymous. Alright, so inside this method we're going to check if user is logged in or it's not. So basically we're checking if user is not null. That means that our user is actually logged into our application, and we're going to use of course else block, and we can display a simple toast message here. So let's say toast message, and let's write here something like please log in to continue, or something like that. Sign in to continue. Okay, and here we're going to create another activity. So whenever our user is logged in, we want to redirect our user to welcome activity. So let's create that activity here, and inside our main activity we're going to create an intent which will send our user to this second activity. Alright, so here in our Android manifest file we can set a label for our welcome activity. So let's just set it to welcome. Okay, and of course we can add a parent activity to main activity, so we can have our back arrow in our action bar. And here we're going to add an intent. So new intent, let's pass two activities. The first one is main activity, so we are redirecting our user from main activity to welcome activity. And let's use a start activity here. Okay, and now that's basically it for our update UI method. And here we can delete this line of code, we don't need that. And here instead of this we're going to add a main activity. Okay, and let's delete this, we don't need that, of course. And okay, so basically this onComplete method have if block, so if task is successful, then we're going to update the UI, and we're using update UI method, of course. So let's run our application to actually check it out, how will that work. Okay, so here we can also use onStart method. Okay, so here so we have implemented our callback manager here, and we can proceed to the next step later, but let's check it out. So click this continue with Facebook, and it will navigate you to official Facebook website. But as you can see, we got an error saying this app is still in development mode, and we need to change that. So because this video is already at 10 minutes, I'm going to pause this and we're going to continue fixing this error in the next tutorial.